Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? I hope you're all fit and well. Who was first off the mark? Gary Muirhead was first off the mark this morning. Morning, Gary. Good morning, guys. He says he's also followed me over on Substack. Thank you very much indeed for that, Gary. Mark Whiting is here as well, so we all have permission to continue. Who else do we have here? I did see others. Chris Ford. Good morning, sweet peas. He says, may your pod never burst. Well, indeed. Wise words indeed. I think I saw Peter McKenna here. Did I see Peter? Where are we? Yes, I said good morning, playmates. I'm fairly sure there used to be like was it Arthur Askey or something like that back in the, I don't know, 40s or 50s? Hello, playmates. I thought I'd adopt that this morning, and apparently it sounds like an 80s porn mag. I didn't write for that one. Wrote for a few, but not that one. Let's have a look. What do we have here? Apparently weather. Cracking the flags here in Preston. Got up to 27 degrees yesterday and no thunder. Like the South End. I didn't hear any thunder. We had a light sprinkling of rain just to keep the grass green in the back garden. A bit. But no, not much more than that. But good morning, everyone. If you were here yesterday, you'll know that my finger was hovering over the post button on an article. I bit the bullet. I posted it this morning. If you want to read it, go over to WhatsApp and follow the link there. You'll be able to see it there. Failing that, just go to LinkedIn or go to Demolition Insider. It's on all of those platforms and probably a few others as well. It's also on demolitionnews.com. So go and see what it's all about. I have had a message from the lady involved. I'm not going to make it a secret. So Anne Mackay, who has been on this show a couple of times, her husband was killed up at the accident in Redcar back in 2019, wrote to the NFDC, had no response. I've written an article about it, and it's live. It's live now. If you'd like to go and have a look at that. To be honest, what am I trying to achieve with it? I'm not expecting the NFDC to recognise its wrongs. I'm not expecting a message from anyone at the NFDC to say, you complete git. What I am expecting, or what I would like to think, is that a few people might actually read that and say to Anne Mackay, we're thinking of you, even if others aren't. So if you are, particularly on LinkedIn, which is where she resides a lot of the time, if you are on there and would like to leave a message to Anne, please do so, because having lost her husband, you'd think the least the industry could do would be to sort of support her a bit, which it basically hasn't. Peter McKenna, it was Playboy that had playmates. They did indeed. Jonathan Doris is here as well. Good morning. Yvonne Waterman is here. Hello from the train to Birmingham. I'm on my way to present at the excellent Faculty of Asbestos Assessment Management Conference there. Have a good day. I hope you're staying overnight, in which case, the Balti Triangle curry, it's Indian food. Go and have a look at that. And Ken Hatcher has just arrived, which means we definitely do have the green light to start the show. Can't start the show without Ken. I don't know what I'd do without him, to be perfectly honest. So everybody is in the house. Everybody is present and correct. So without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, which I think I've done. And yeah, we'll get this show on the road. It is Tuesday, the 13th of May. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. And in today's show, Bergmann rolls out a sexy new dumper. I say it's sexy. It's as sexy as dumpers get, I think. We're pounding the ground with Wacker Neuson, going back to Bauma for that. Getting to grips with Gehl. That's also from Bauma, and completing the triumvirate of Bauma coverage. In our latest journey back to the Messe Munchen, we're taking a stroll around LiuGong's Bauma stand. Plus, in my morning monologue today, the definition of insanity. And I've got to be honest, the definition of insanity is not necessarily watching this show. It really isn't. And Yvonne, Yvonne says, yes, meeting up many English friends and indeed having a delicious curry. Still, thanks for the tip. You're very welcome. There's an Indian restaurant in Birmingham called Faisal's. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Let's have a look. Yeah, question of the day is live and kicking. So what do I need to do next? Most of the diggers just joined us as well. Also, Vision Biz have just joined us as well. Loads of other people as well. I do need to tell you about today's mystery machine. But first of all, Gary Muirhead says it seems like everyone in the NFTC has been told not to comment on anything and just to keep their voice to a zero. Yeah, that's yeah. And this, let's be absolutely clear here. This is not an isolated incident. Obviously, the one that I wrote about today was very much about Anne Mackay and her husband John, who was killed up at Redcar. Complete silence. The accident happened on the site of an NFTC member. Um, Complete silence from the NFTC, but there was silence after DidCop. There was silence after the CMA investigation. There was silence after a bunch of scaffold collapses as well. Just silence, silence, silence. Um, Peter says, let's get your post out there, Mark. I think I'll tag the NFTC as I'm starting to get a lot of attention on LinkedIn. You are. I have noticed that. Keep up the good work, Peter. Good to see. Good to see people using the powers of the interwebs. I'll come back to the question of the day in just a moment, but I do need to show you the mystery machine for today after this. Yeah, mystery machine today. I've played around. Good morning, Ian Schilling, who's just joined us over on Instagram. I've played around with the color, but see what you can come up with on that. We're looking for, as always, we're looking for a make and a model. Is this the kind of machine you will have encountered? I'll be surprised, astounded, I would say, if anyone has actually seen one of these in real life. It is a current model. It's from a very, very big brand. That's not that color. Can't really tell you much else other than that. While you're figuring that out, let me take that away and very quickly remind you of our question of the day. Yeah, we're looking basically for your answer to the following question. Sorry, I was reading something else. I do apologise for getting distracted there. Yeah, our question of the day basically kind of got the potential to bring back some bad memories, I would say. What is the worst job you've ever had to do? Mine is easy. I mean, literally, when I was writing this, immediately came to mind. I've hung off the side of buildings. Shouldn't have done, but I have. I've been in claustrophobic underground mines, but far and away, I mean, by a country mile, worst job I ever did was photographing a Kramer wheel loader in a chicken shed. Worst smell I have ever encountered. And you could, forgive me for being so graphic, but you could basically see chicken shit dust in the air. When the flash was going off on the camera, the air was just full of powdered excrement. And I got home, took off my clothes, stuck them in the washing machine. They were okay, but I could still smell it in my hair about 3 days later. It was horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Peter McKenna says, what does he say? I'm surprised you haven't used any of the mystery machines that I've sent you in the past. Not all of them work, Peter. The problem we have, well, there's several. Getting rid of backgrounds is one thing. Not all of them allow you to do that. The size is going to be pretty big because we blow them up to YouTube size. So I think it's 1280 wide or something like that. So that's also a problem. And we try to do things, although today's is at a slight angle. It kind of needs to be side on so you can see the whole machine rather than an angle, and that I have my reasons. Let's have a look. So I'll come back to the mystery machine in a moment. But question of the day: what have we got here? Peter says fatbergs and grease traps smell worse than human waste, which is following on from this. Sucking fatbergs out of a drainage system outside a kebab shop. Now, I'll be honest. I'm speaking as a man who does, I am partial to a kebab, not keen on the fat traps outside. I have to say. Dan Cullen has just arrived in time for the mystery machine as well. Morning, Dan. I tell you what, let me show you the mystery machine very, very quickly. That's what you've got so far. I have changed the colour. Stephen Edwards, good morning to you. There you are. There's a little bit more. I think it's fairly obvious the type of machine, but I am looking for a very, very specific make and model. I have changed the colour, Dan, so don't be carried away with the colour there. And there is another point here. I've got to be fairly specific on the model because it's a very specific thing. Chris Ford says, "Chicken shit is nothing. Try cleaning a loaded shovel that's worked in a rendering factory in summer." Oh no, do you know? Funnily enough, that they had it contained. I went up to let me get rid of that for a second. I went up to Norway some years ago, where they were running Caterpillar engines on what they refer to as combined heat and power plant. So they were basically taking gas from a rendering facility, passing it through an engine to basically fuel the engine, and then the hot water from the hot water, the jacket on the engine, they were piping that through to heat a school, a doctor's surgery, and I think a swimming pool as well. We went to the source of the gas. And as I say, the Norwegians being the Norwegians, they had contained it pretty well. But when you actually got inside into the real meat of the plant, yeah, that wasn't great at all. Okay, so going back to the mystery machine, what have we got? We've got Dan Cullen reckons it could be a Liebherr T272. It is not a T272. It's not a Liebherr at all. Jonathan Duras reckons it could be the Komatsu HD 1500. It is not one of those either, and it's not a Komatsu. Ken Hatcher says it's a big cat dumper. It's not. It's none of those things. Here's a bit more. There you are. As I say, you're all in the right ballpark, but none of you have got the right one yet. Dan Cullen going for the Cat 797F. Good call, but it's not right. Keep the guesses coming and keep your answers to the worst job you've ever had coming as well. We'll be right back with Bergmann after this. I've got a bit of a pun in mind, so stick with me. Peter McKenna says another one. We used to run animal skins from UK to Ireland and vice versa. It's okay when you're driving, but when you're stopped at lights and the wind is blowing in your direction, it takes a strong stomach. Yeah, I can believe that. Paul McHale has arrived as well. Worst smell at work in New Zealand after the earthquake. Knocked down a fish store. 2 years old fish in the freezer. A little bit sick in my mouth there. That sounds bloody horrible. Back to the mystery machine very quickly. That's what it looks like. Jonathan is going for the Komatsu 980E. Ken Hatcher is going for a Hitachi dumper. Well, you're the closest yet. It's not the full answer, but you're the closest yet. We'll keep that open. Keep those guesses coming. You see, this is why Mike Woof and I have been friends for more than 30 years, because he knows things, okay? I consider myself to be fairly smart. I'm not even in the same league as Mike Woof. He says, all that airborne dust was probably alkaline, Mark. If you'd washed your hair with it and mixed in lemon juice, the weak acid would have neutralized it and got rid of the smell. It's an old dog walker's trick. I thought you'd know. Dogs are often rolling in fox mess, which is alkaline, and you can use vinegar or lemon juice or tomato sauce. I've heard about the tomato sauce to neutralize it when you wash your dog. As for the worst smell, I had a job in a grain merchant for a while. Stinking, wet, rotting barley, a smell you wouldn't believe. There you are. Thanks for that, Mike. Yes, fox. leftovers are really, really unpleasant, aren't they? Let's have a look. Dan Cullen has kind of hit the post. He's gone for the Hitachi EH4000 AC-3. Alex has gone for the Hitachi EH3500. Morning, Alex. Dan has gone for, the EH4000 AC3. Christopher had gone for the 5000 AC-3. Lots and lots of people are close. In actual fact, I think I'm being a bit pedantic here. And look, I tell you what, let me draw a line in the sand right now, because at 10:16, 4 different people have got the same answer. It's not exactly right, but I don't want to be that much of a pedant. So here we go. That's what it is, or that's what it looks like. Who got it first? I think Chris Ford came up with it first. EH5, no, not that one. Dan Cullen came up with the EH4000 AC-3. It's actually the -5, as it happens. Ken Hatcher got it as well. Jonathan Duras got it. So yeah, 3 people. I want to share the points, but just to prove that they are all correct, just with the wrong dash, here we go. This is what it actually looks like. That's how I made it look. That's how it's supposed to look. Should be orange, not green. So congratulations to Ken, to Jonathan, and to Dan as well. All at the same time. So well spotted, fellas. I have a specific pen for this job. Bear with me. So Ken Hatcher, Jonathan Duras, Dan Cullen, 3 points apiece. Well done, fellas. Dan Cullen says it's only a -3 on the Hitachi website. Definitely says -5 on mine. But well done, lads. Yes, well done indeed. Let me get rid of that, because we do have stuff to show you. What do we have to show you? Yes. So you will have seen on the news that the big orange fella in the big white house has ambitions to reopen Alcatraz. Okay. I'll leave you to decide whether he is a complete lunatic or whether he actually has a point. I'll leave that entirely up to you. But if he does, and if they need a site dumper on the site to help bring Alcatraz back to life, then surely it should be one of the machines I'm about to show you, because then it would be the Bergmann of Alcatraz. I'm here all week. The Bergmann of Alcatraz. Somebody needs to make it happen. That's too good an opportunity. I may even Photoshop that Bergmann at Alcatraz and sell it to them as an advertising concept. Dan Cullen enjoying that. He says he reckons they look nicer than a High Dreamer. Now that's different. Side tip, yeah, absolutely. Carry me your head. Unimpressed by my pun. Says don't give up your day job. No, I don't intend to. Don't intend to. What else have we got? Oh, loads of stuff to get through. Yeah, we're going back to Bauma in just a moment with Wacker Neuson in just a moment.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, we're going all compaction-y in a second with the fine folks at Wacker Neuson. So sit back and enjoy.
Hi, my name is Paul, and we're today at our booth at the Bauma show with Wacker Neuson. Here we are standing at our new DPU 52. The handlebar increases basically the ergonomics, the maneuverability. What is also really great here, the electric start here in front of you at the top of the handlebar. First of all, you need to start with the key of the machine here, turn the machine on by pushing the button. You can start the machine really easy by pushing the gas lever forward and stopping the machine by pulling it backwards to you. On this new model, we have changed the positioning of the gas lever, so it's positioned right in the middle of the machine. Now here on this new handlebar, you can not only adjust the height of the handlebar here, but you can also put the machine and the handlebar into a trench mode. Connecting the machine with your phone gives you the opportunity to get information on your phone about operating hours, serviceability. We are standing at our new DPU 62. 62 stands for 62 kilonewtons compaction force, and this is the more powerful version compared to our DPU 52. With our new plates, we have decided to go for a new and easy accessible lower plate design. We're offering our new models as a diesel version, which is the DPU, and we offer it as a gas version, which is the BPU. We're delighted to show you and to demo you our new plate compactors here at the Bauma 2025 at our booth at Wacker Neuson.
Strange thing with that film. I wasn't there when Fred filmed that. He showed it to me yesterday before I put it on the show, and I thought that guy looks familiar. Turns out he is one of the Wacker faces of their TikTok and their Instagram as well. And I'm sure it's the same thing that people have when they see my ugly mug in public. So I know that face from somewhere. I had exactly the same thing. Yeah, top film, top product as well. Well done to Wacker Neuson. Back to Bauma in just a moment, this time with Gehl.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
As you may or may not know, Gehl, the skid steer loader manufacturer, is actually part of the Manitou Group. We had a bit of time on the Manitou stand. I said we, Fred did actually, and he filmed both the Manitou machines, which I'll be bringing you at some point in the not too distant future, but he also filmed some Gehl equipment as well, like this.
We're here today at Bauma 2025 in Munich, Germany, and I'd like to give you a quick snapshot of some of the best things about our VT275 compact track loader. We have our patented ideal open easy access door, which allows the operator to use the machine with the door open so he can speak with people around the job site, or closed when weather permits. On all of Gehl's medium frame compact track loaders, you'll now find a cab that's 27% larger than its previous models. We have pilot-operated hydraulic joysticks, and they move with the seat, which is a Manitou exclusive when it comes to pilot operating controls. On the outside of our medium frame loaders, you'll find another innovative feature, one of the industry's only forward-sloping roof. To minimize the cross-section that you have in front of you when you're dumping into trucks. Our lift arm, you'll notice that it slopes away from the machine,
that provides better visibility, patented Ideal Tracks hydraulic track tensioning system. Whenever the machine is turned on, the tracks are tensioned to the proper tension, eliminating the need for daily maintenance. When the machine is not in use, that tension is relieved, extending your track life to up to 15% or more. Inside the engine compartment of our medium frame loaders, you're going to find the industry's most serviceable machine, as well as our cab tips up 35 degrees, giving you access to anything on the front side of the engine. So that's a wrap for now from the Gehl booth at Bauma 2025. If you'd like more details, please check out our website, gehl.com.
Remember the first time I ever saw a Gehl skid steer in the wild? And I remember it because literally it was about a stone's throw from where I grew up. They were working very, very early doors. So this would have been about 1987, 1988. There was plans to refurbish Battersea Power Station. Even then, it's taken this long to get it done, sort of 50 odd years. But there was a Gehl skid steer there, and I went to see it. And it literally parked pretty much outside where I used to live. When I saw the machine, and then went for pie mash afterwards. Yeah. Gary Muirhead says, love that door idea, which I first saw on the wonderful channel, Diggers and Dozes. It's okay, Fred, you can pay me later. Yeah, I tell you what, that proved very, very popular. Millions of views that damn thing's had. Just an up and over, I don't know. Chris Ford, going back to the Wacker Neuson gas lever. Never heard a throttle called that before. Then again, I've never seen a compactor plate powered by gas. I am going to assume, and I don't know this to be true, I am assuming the gas that he's referring to there is probably the gas as in American, i.e. petrol. I like the gas pedal in an American car. I think it's probably that. I don't know that to be for sure, but that's what I'm guessing at. Looks tidy, says Dan. Yeah, I totally agree. Gehl machines, very, very smart. Don't see too many of them about, but they are very, very smart. And we're going to complete the hat trick of our revisits to Bauma in just a second. We're going to see LiuGong after this. Just want to say a very quick good morning to Action Demolition, who are watching over on Instagram. Where are Action Demolition? Are you in the UK? Are you in America? Are you somewhere else in the world? Let us know. Gary says, still can't believe Wacker has been going for over 180 years. I've got a hat that says as much somewhere. Not that I can put my hand on, but it has. Chris Ford says, I saw my first skid steer in 1969. 1969. I was 4 years old. Dan Cullen says, petrol equals gas in USA. Yes, absolutely it does. So, yeah, well, I tell you what, we'll let this handsome gentleman tell you the story. Welcome back to the Breakfast Show at Bauma. We're going Chinese next. We're actually off to the LiuGong stand. As you can see, we're getting closer to, yeah, it's just gone midday here on the Thursday of the show. Getting very, very busy. The car park was busy even at 7:30 this morning. And the crowds are gathering, so we're on our way over to the LiuGong stand, and there's a lot of green up ahead, which I think denotes their electric range. So let's take a look. That's the 924 FE electric excavator. Tucked behind it is the 870 HE wheel loader. And then we're getting a bit bigger still, electric grader, 4280E grader. And then tucked behind that, which I will take a closer look at, is the DR50CE rigid dump truck. Let's go around the front so we can get a proper look at that. As you can see, lots and lots of people here. Work our way through the crowd. I'm assuming they're all here for LiuGong. So there is that rigid truck, 100% electric. a little more traditional. It's actually being loaded by a diesel-fueled 975F excavator.
I'm European Product Director at LiuGong Machinery.
Another great demolition machine, 930. Another great demolition machine, 933F. Built for demolition, it says. Let's take a closer look. In fact, let's take a look up. A little bit of wheel loader action going on. Supposedly these are both new, 842T, and I'm not sure what that is, the 890T. Very smart wheel loaders. As I've said in previous videos, I'm actually seeing this for the first time as the same as you are. So if I am a bit garbled, if I do make a few mistakes, I make no apology. It's just because I'm seeing it for the first time. There's an electric machine demonstration going on here, bit of an operator challenge involving basketballs apparently. And then we'll swing our way round because there's a nice pink machine over here that I'd like to show you, which is the most Chinese looking machine I've seen so far at the show. That really is quite some paint job, isn't it? Even I'd think twice about wearing that. And then we're going to finish off, swing over here, I'm going to finish off with one of their big excavators, 995F. Let me give you a full range look at that. There you go. And that's the LiuGong stand. So, feedback on LiuGong. Both sides of the coin, actually. Dan Cullen says, actually, LiuGong not up in the world like Cat and Hitachi, as they are but they're a damn tiny machine, better to operate than Hitachi. On the flip side of that, Peter McKenna says, LiuGong are horrendous at the moment. I know loads of companies that thought they were buying a good cheap machine, but are now regretting their decision and are attempting to offload them. Excuse me. Funnily enough, I've seen the opposite of that. Particularly in the demolition sphere, the number of people that went in and we'll just try one LiuGong. And I've been back and bought another one, and then another one, and then half a dozen to go with it. Dan says, I feel tilted cab is not that good. I prefer lift cab like on the scrap handlers, so you're closer to the attachment. Enjoying the pink is Dan. Two things. Gary Muirhead says, I take it the Chinese manufacturers haven't taken you up on your offer to visit their country. Funnily enough, I did receive a message from XCMG about a week ago, which I've since responded to, and I'm waiting for them to get back to me. So all is not lost. I may still end up there. And then Peter said this. Oh, what did you think of your picture, Mark? I had to answer a call, so I think I missed your comment. I didn't know what he was talking about. Went over to the WhatsApp group, and lo and behold, not only has he taken a photograph of me mid-flow, but he played around with it. I might actually use this as my thumbnail for a show in the not-too-distant future. There you are. He's made it into a drawing. I'm actually quite taken with that. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Dan Cullen says that 995 should have a changeable boom. Peter McKenna says Howard Stock Demolition bought a demo machine and said it's the worst machine he's ever had. Interesting. As I say, horses for courses, and I'm sure there are lots of people out. I mean, when Squibb bought, I think, one and ended up with about half a dozen. Keltbray had at least one, possibly more. And Peter McKenna says, glad you like it, Mark. Still got the morning monologue. So that's the main part of this. That's the main part of this morning show done and dusted. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, do please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I will be back in just a moment to define insanity for you. Yeah, after this. Insanity, it is said, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. According to a large number of inspirational mugs, t-shirts and posters, that famous quote comes from none other than Albert Einstein, although that is actually disputed. Regardless of who actually said it, the basic premise is correct. And yet here in the field of demolition and construction, it's a lesson that we continue to fail to heed. In fact, it's a lesson we continue to ignore, which kind of proves my initial point, if you see what I mean. We let major contracts based on price and are then shocked when there is a subsequent price hike. Unforeseen circumstances, they call it. No, they're not. They're very much foreseen, if you've been in this game longer than 5 minutes anyway. We let major infrastructure projects without proper procurement procedures in place. Barely a joined up thought on risk, delivery, or accountability. And then we're amazed when the project overruns by months or even years. And somehow, it's always someone else's fault. We allow men and machines to work in close proximity and then scratch our collective beards when there's an accident or a fatality. We could have separated them, but we didn't because that required a new approach. Instead, we've adopted proximity sensors and even remote control machines. But we don't use those either, not consistently, not seriously, because of cost and convenience or laziness. We know that falls from height are the biggest single killer in the sector outside of asbestos. That's not new information, and yet we continue to build and demolish using methods that require our people to balance on beams and scaffolds like it's 1930. We know that competence cards don't prove actual competence. A laminated card doesn't magically make someone safe, skilled, or experienced. But we carry on pretending because it ticks a box on a clipboard, because it makes the paperwork look neat if the worst happens. We know that workers are struggling with their mental health. We've all seen the stats. We've heard all the stories or we've lived them. But we crack on regardless, placing them under the same pressures in the same toxic work environments in the vain hope it will all just blow over. We slap a poster up in the canteen about mental health and we think we've done our bit. We know we need more young people to swell our ranks and to carry the industry forward. The average age on site keeps creeping up. But instead of reaching out, we cross our fingers and hope work in the trade becomes fashionable again, as if a TikTok trend will save us. We know our sites and our industry would be enhanced by greater diversity, not just morally, but practically. Broader ideas, better teams, different perspectives. And yet we still operate in a way where anyone not male and not white is viewed with suspicion or hostility, or even both. We might post a photo of a woman in PPE once a year for International Women's Day, but the site culture doesn't shift an inch. So why is this? Why do we keep doing things the same way? Part of it, I think, is just sheer inertia. The way we do things now is the way we did them yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. There's comfort in the familiar, even if the familiar is broken. People cling to what they know, and those at the top, the ones who could push change, often made their names and their money playing by the old rules. Why would they want to change the game now? There's also the illusion of action. New acronyms, new committees, new logos. We love a working group in this industry. But if all those meetings and white papers and frameworks don't lead to actual lived change on site, what's the point? Now, when I sat down to compose this article, or this monologue, I already had an intro in my head, but I couldn't make it flow into the main part of the piece. So do you know what I did? I took a step back. I accepted that my intro wasn't quite as good as I thought it was, and I took a different approach. That different approach is what you're listening to right now. Little old me, professional keyboard basher, handful of O-levels but no university degree. I saw that something wasn't working, so I tried another way. I wasn't entirely happy with that either, so I tried a third way, and then a fourth, and then I was happy. If I can sit at a desk and figure out something I wrote wasn't actually working, and then rewrite it, bin it, and start again until it did, then surely a multi-billion-pound industry can manage the same, or at least try. But we don't. We just keep ploughing ahead, pretending everything's fine, burying our heads in the sand and muttering, "This is how it's always been done," as if that's a good enough reason. We used to send children up chimneys, but we ultimately figured out that was probably a bad idea. Meanwhile, projects keep running late, costs keep spiralling, workers keep getting hurt or killed. Good people keep leaving. Young people keep shunning careers in demolition and construction. And we keep acting surprised as though we couldn't see it coming. And here's the kicker. We can see it coming. We always could. We actually have a body called the Construction Leadership Council. We have trade bodies that don't just see individual and isolated problems. They have a watching brief over the entire sector. They can see the failings and the shortcomings. They can see the failings and the shortcomings, the repeated problems and issues. They publish reports, they hold summits, and yet here we are. If they're not willing or able to forge a new path, not just talk about change, but to actually make change, then frankly, what purpose do they serve? What's the point of having so-called leadership if it only leads us in circles? Now, I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I certainly don't. But I do know when something's broken. And what we've got right now, trust me, it's broken. Sooner or later, we need to stop lying to ourselves and admit the truth. What we're doing now isn't working. It's not working for the people on site. It's not working for the next generation. And it's definitely not working for the future of this industry. So maybe it's time to stop being insane. There you are. Anybody got any thoughts on that? And I did genuinely rewrite that about 4 times to make sure that I got all the points I needed to get in there. So let's have a look. What do we got? Okay, so back to Dan Cullen. Now there's a thing, many people, too many seat warmers, and that is why some machines are fucked. One operator, one machine, you see the difference? You certainly do. Excuse me, that cup of tea's gone down very badly. Howard has one operator on one machine. That's Howard stopped, I would assume. No need to explain. There's a bit of insanity in this all. There is, but you know, when it is things like working at height, you know, the construction industry or combined construction demolition industry tops the league for work fatalities every single year. And in those stats, the biggest killer outside of asbestos is falls from height. So here's a canny notion. Why don't we stop just sending people up high? Do it a different way. Listen, radical. I think you'll agree. Going back to all things mental health, Andy's Man Club. Yeah, I've still not got one local to me, but I would like to go and give it a try. Our local Andy's Man Club last night had 50 attendees, 16 new guys. There are now 254 Andy's Man Clubs across the UK, growing week by week. Good to see. No, Mark, the governing bodies are all in it for the money. What you need is someone like me, boots on the ground to stir things up. Yeah, I agree. And I do actually think that any change, any positive change when it comes, is like to come from the bottom up rather than the top down. I think that the top, be it, you know, the upper echelons of the industry, the trade bodies, the conduits between industry and government itself, I don't think they have any vested interest in making anything change. I think if there is going to be change in terms of mental health, in terms of recruitment, in terms of training, in terms of site safety, bottom up. One operator to one machine, and I still managed to employ Stevie Wonder. And you can't tell me some of these lads what to do. They know better. Yeah, I'm sure that is the case. I listen. You know, I struggled with that when I first started writing professionally, despite the fact that I came in completely cold. Within about 3 weeks, if somebody tried to edit my articles, I was like, "How dare you? You do realise I'm a journalist. I mean, I'd only been a journalist for about 10 days at that point. But how very dare you?" Yeah. But yeah, any thoughts on all of that? I do think a lot of it comes down to what's that expression? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. What about if it is broke? So why aren't you fixing it? And no, you know, I'd love to sit here and say that I'd been all insightful and clever and revealing. Everything that I've just said, we all know that. I'm not revealing trade secrets here. We all know the biggest causes of accidents. We all know the biggest causes of stress and mental health issues. We all know that we've got too many people at retirement age and not enough young people coming in to replace them. We all know that there isn't enough gender or racial diversity on our sites. We all know that we have a skill shortage that has been around for as long as I have. We all know these things. And there are meetings taking place all the time, be it Build UK, Construction Plant Hire Association, Construction Leadership Council, National Federation of Demolition Contractors, whoever it might be. All of these trade bodies, they all get around, they all sit around their tables, and they all pat each other on the back on a job well done. When was the last time? And this is a genuine question. When was the last time somebody from one of those organisations did a thing that shifted the direction of the industry? The last one I can remember is probably the introduction of the site audit scheme by the NFDC, and that would have been around about, off the top of my head, 2006, so 20 years ago. Now, listen, I don't have my finger on all the pulses, but you'd have thought there would be a standout thing where you could point at a thing and say, that guy or that group or that organization did that thing, and look how much better the industry is as a result of that. I cannot think of a single one. Isn't that a damning indictment? When you think about the makeup of trade associations, and I'm sure they all run to different schedules, but in 20 years, the NFDC will have had, off the top of my head, 10 presidents that, as far as I can remember, have not really made a huge amount of difference. Construction Plant Hire Association would have had the same. But, all the other organisations would have been exactly the same. And there's nothing that is I may have misspoken. My guess is that things have improved financially, legislatively, for the upper echelons. In other words, those at the top of the tree are probably making more money. They have less hoops to jump through, or the hoops that they have to jump through are of their own design, and therefore they're comfortable with it. But none of that has actually percolated down to the guys and the girls, the handful of girls that are actually on site. Dan says, that's another problem. Yes, there's a lot of broken people in the industry relying on drugs and alcohol for a getaway. Yeah, there are. And see, here's the other thing. Now, listen, I'm not naive. I've been around for a while. I know the way that the world works. I know that some people drink for fun. I know some people take recreational drugs because they like it. It's not my thing, but I know people do that. But I also know that both drugs and alcohol are used as a crutch. And if you're struggling with your mental health, with anxiety, with tension, whatever it might be, it's quite easy, or a lot easier, to reach for a crutch. We have a crisis, well, we have a dual crisis in the industry. We have a mental health crisis, but we also have a drugs and alcohol crisis. If we were to fix one, i.e., if we were to fix the mental health issue, we might not completely cure the other, the drugs and alcohol, but we would put a sodding great dent in it. But we don't. Peter says, I've been told all the good I will probably do. The people at the top will probably take all the limelight for my work, but at least I know in my heart that I've action to change. Yeah. Listen, that's all you can do. That's all you can do. And it's too late now. Going back to my article of this morning, Anne Mackay wrote to the NFDC, it'll be a year in June. She received an initial response to say that they'd get back to her. They never did. it's too late for them to go back now and say, we've seen the error of our ways. This is what we're going to do for you. We're going to sit down with the HSE and shout and stamp our feet until you get some sort of justice for your husband. It's too late for any of that. But if they take that and make sure that should they ever receive a letter like that again, or if somebody is killed, then they on a site of one of their members, or even on a site of one of their non-members in a demolition environment, there should be a protocol that says this is what we will do. And part of what I said in the article was it didn't actually matter what the response said. It didn't need to say, well, we're going to fight your corner for you. We're going to ban the member because of their involvement in this, because the investigation is still going, so they can't do that anyway. But all it needed was for a message to say, Anne, really sorry for your loss. We can't do anything. Our hands are tied until the investigation is over. But please understand that we at the upper echelons of the industry are thinking of you. And if there's anything we can do, any advice we can offer or whatever, then we will be happy to do that. And instead, they chose silence. Same goes for an accident. There are demolition companies watching, including AEM Demolition, who have literally just joined us over on Instagram. Here's the thing, right? So if you have an incident, a bit of building falls off and lands in the road, a machine finds a basement and kicks over, somebody's struck by a pebble on the road outside, or a fatal accident, any of those things, here's my advice. Issue a statement that says, we are aware of this thing that has happened on this site at this time. We are working with the investigating authorities, and we will be happy to share our findings once an investigation has been concluded. Because at that point, there's no point in local newspapers giving you a hard time. There's no point in me giving you a hard time. There's no point in Construction News, Construction Inquirer, Construction Index even picking up the phone to speak to you, because you have issued your statement. That then gives you the breathing space to go and actually work with the Health and Safety Executive or the Environment Agency or the local police force to ascertain exactly what has happened, at which point you can go back and say, after a thorough investigation, we can now advise that this is what happened, this is why it happened. If you're to blame, you then say, okay, well, these are the systems we're putting in place to ensure that that's never repeated. Or if you're completely exonerated by the findings of that investigation, we've now handed our findings over to the investigating authorities, but we'll be supporting them until they come up with their ultimate findings. Just nip it in the bud. Be honest, be open, and actually fucking respond. Actually put pen to paper and say, we are responding, rather than silence. There's a bit in the article which I'm going to go over and have a look at. I know some of you, I know a lot of you have read it. Let me get to the right place. I'm just trying to find the right bit, because I've said, let's be clear, even the most eloquent and heartfelt response was not going to bring John Mackay back. It wasn't going to ease the pain of his widow or his bereaved family, nor was it likely to alter Anne's view that the demolition industry had robbed her of the love of her life. But a response, any response, might have reassured her that she wasn't fighting alone, that someone else knew what she was going through, that someone else had taken the time to listen, to sympathise and to empathise. Instead, the silence achieved the exact opposite. It told her that she was alone, that the industry didn't care what she was going for, and that it had no sympathy whatsoever. All it needed, listen, bearing in mind, I know the letter was addressed to the CEO, who is soon to be the former CEO, but they have staff there. He could quite easily have dictated, he could quite easily have written the letter himself. Our thoughts are with you. We will be meeting with the Health and Safety Executive. We will raise this on your behalf, but this, we can't comment further. It does involve a member company, so we can't comment further. Any response would have been better than no response. Even if that response had been literally, As this incident involved a member company, we are unable to speak. Yours sincerely. But no, just ignore it. Same as they ignored Didcot. Same as they ignored the accident at Redcar when it first happened. Same as they ignored the spate of scaffold collapses. Same as they chose to ignore the CMA investigation. Just a practiced, choreographed silence. And the irony of all of this, which if you've seen the article, you'll see the image that goes with it. This is the organization that claims to be the voice of the global demolition industry. Ironic that the voice of the global demolition industry should be silent, isn't it? The mute voice of the global demolition industry. Anywho, people, that's probably going to do me for now. I kind of need to end today's show on a fairly quickly anyway, because I'm meeting up with my sister. I haven't seen my sister in about a year, which is disgraceful and almost entirely my fault. But she's popping around. Haven't seen her for a long time, so a lot of catching up to do. But I will be back. I'll be back tomorrow for more of the same. There will be a recap. It might be a bit late, but you can go and find all of that we've just been talking about over on LinkedIn, Demolition News, Demolition Insider, 100 other places as well. So go and take a look. And as I say, if you are that way inclined, and I'm not forcing you, but if you are that way inclined, maybe have a look at dropping a line to Amakai to remind her that there are parts of the industry that do actually care, because as it stands at the moment, she's not entirely convinced, and I don't blame her. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Thanks for your input. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Till then, behave yourselves.